Here is where most of these projects actually end, and it is not in failure. It is in success that stops. 90% of the traffic is on the new services. The demos went brilliantly. Someone presented it at a conference, and the team that built it has been moved onto something new because they are good, and there is a new thing that needs good people, and the mainframe is still running, serving that last 10%, and the invoice is exactly what it was 2 years ago. Because you do not save a cent until it is off. Not 90% of the cost, zero. This finale is about the part nobody puts in the plan. And the last 10% is not 10% of the work. For a reason that should have been obvious from the start. You migrated in the order you understood things. So what remains is, by definition, what nobody understands. The route with the regulatory exception from a merger. The batch job that runs once a year and everyone has forgotten about until it does not run. The integration whose only consumer is a spreadsheet on someone's laptop that feeds a board report. These are not hard because they are technically complex. They are hard because the knowledge is gone, and the only specification is the running system, which is the exact problem we started this series with, now concentrated into its most difficult residue. So before you switch it off, you have to prove nothing needs it, and asking around is not proof. Somebody always says, yes, we still use that, and somebody always forgets. Instrument it instead. Log every inbound call to the mainframe with the caller and let it run for longer than the longest cycle in your business, which means at least a full year if anything is annual. Then read it. What you find will surprise you. Callers nobody could name, a system you decommissioned last year still politely knocking, and something hitting it every night at 2 that nobody claims. Then, before turning it off, turn it down, return errors for a route, and see who complains, in a window where you can turn it back on. That is a fire drill you run deliberately, rather than an outage you discover. Now the honest part, which is not technical at all. Finishing is unrewarded work. There is no demo. The best possible outcome is that a system disappears and absolutely nothing else changes, which as an achievement is invisible by construction. Meanwhile, the new thing is exciting, and there is a roadmap for it. So finishing has to be made someone's actual job, with a named owner and a number attached, and that number is the one thing that cuts through. The mainframe's annual cost on a slide, with a date next to it. Not modernization, which nobody can price. The invoice. That is the argument that survives a budget meeting, because it is the only one where switching a machine off shows up as money. And the position nobody expects me to take. Sometimes you should stop. If what remains is small, stable, cheap, and not blocking anything, then finishing may be a worse investment than leaving it alone. A mainframe running 3 routes that nobody needs to change is not technical debt. It is a component. The failure is not that it still exists. The failure is pretending. So decide and write it down. Either it goes off by a date with a name against it, or it stays, and it is an accepted part of the architecture with an owner and a support contract. What is genuinely bad is the third state, the one most companies are actually in, where it is nobody's job. Everyone assumes it is temporary, and it has been temporary for 9 years. So that is the strangle, end to end, a facade for a seam, slices you can ship and reverse, an anti-corruption layer so the old model dies with the old system, an outbox because you cannot write to 2 places at once, idempotency because the message will arrive twice, sagas because there is no rollback, a cutover measured in percentages, and a decommission with a date on it. None of it is clever. All of it is the difference between a migration that finishes and one that becomes the thing your successor complains about. The full series is linked in the description, See you in the next one.